It's been a couple of weeks now, so I should be able to get through this video without just constantly saying how amazing and gushy and fantastic this book is. Let's see if we can get through this in a concise, dignified manner. I'm Quinn Moone, I write queer fairy tales, and today I have the pleasure to talk about Run Away With Me by Brian Selznick. If you missed the vlog, go listen to it if you want to just hear me rant about how amazing it is. This book has been probably one of my top books I've read this year so far. I know what books I'm going to be reading the rest of the year, and I'm not sure if there are any on the list right now that can top it. Maybe T. Kingfisher might. She has 2 books coming out. I didn't know about the second one. So maybe T. Kingfisher can top it. This book has, or maybe some of my other Sad Gay Summer books, those might top it. But this book has been one of the most phenomenal, beautiful, gorgeous books that I have read in such a long time and this year, and it's already going south, guys. I don't know if I can hold it together. It is such a beautiful book. But let's redirect. What is this book about? In this book, we follow Danny. He and his mother are in Italy on a grant from a museum to help restore a very old book. She specializes in old book restoration and recovery and health. So they brought her in because there is this mysterious book that was found in the wall of this house that used to belong to 2 eccentric brothers, the Monda brothers, that were known to be avid book collectors. This book was found in the wall, and they're like, we need an expert. Hence, Danny and his mom are in Rome. This book is written in the past first-person point of view. So Danny is reflecting on all of this, I believe 3 years after that fateful summer. The book starts with art. Like, just look at that. It doesn't start, well, I guess it does. Like, hold up, I misrepresent. It starts with a prologue, and then we get this spread of art that is drawn by the author because they're also an artist. At the beginning of the book, Danny is depressed. He is not enjoying his stay in Rome. He's doing it because his mother obviously has to work, and that's why he's stuck there. So he spends his days roaming the city, eating from the street vendors, and visiting some of the more famous monuments. As he's doing this one day, he sees this one particular statue, and he finds a map tied to it. No, he don't. As he's wandering one day, he passes this really weird looking statue, and he's like, that's odd and disturbing. He goes right by it, and then someone says, wait. And that moment changes the course of Danny's summer. He turns around and there's a map on the statue. And when he picks it up, that map takes him to Angelo. And the rest is history. This book follows the 2 boys, their blossoming friendship, their blossoming romance, their love for history, their love for reading, their love for the circumstances that brought them together in Rome. And throughout the entire book, Angelo remains an enigma. Angelo seemed to materialize out of thin air to Danny. It was very random, and Angelo always had this cryptic way of saying things. He doesn't have a name. He is 1,000 something years old. He doesn't have a home. Rome is his mother. There are so many mythical things that Angelo says are fact about himself that at times, even I as the reader was like, clearly this kid is like a phantom or magical. I even was like, are we really moving into the vampire space? Please no. But that wasn't the case at all. Angelo was very real, and he had very real problems and very real stories. And there was a very tangible reason for why he didn't want Danny to go to his house, for why he kept certain things a secret, for why he vanished. And this entire book is Danny learning to trust this enigma of a boy, because Danny has trust issues. Danny has trust issues for many, many reasons. One of which, and not least of which, is the fact that his mother travels so much. Because of her very niche work, he has moved his entire life to wherever she's called for work, because she works in old book restoration and like recovery. Obviously, you have very specific skill set, and because of the fact that they travel so much, Danny has always had a problem being rooted. Danny has always had a problem making friends, because what does it matter if you're going to be gone in a few months, if you're not going to come back from winter break because you have another grant for another semester at a different university. So while everybody loved that Danny traveled and they're like, wow, it must be so cool, Danny himself didn't like it. And because of that, he was so isolated. He was isolated from his peers, isolated from his mother because he was angry at his mother. One of the recurring themes is his anger at his mother's job anger at the need to have to move so much. And he reflects on the fact that he might have been the reason his mother was so sad, but he couldn't, as a 16-year-old boy that was suffering all of this loneliness and depression and isolation, he didn't have the capacity to extend that courtesy to his mother because he was suffering too. Because he was the kid that couldn't have a friend, that couldn't have a home, that couldn't have a support structure. But when Angelo arrives and he's this enigma, and again, we have the ticking time because they only have summer, Danny decides that this is the one chance he's gonna take because he's had a friend before. He had a friend and he adored that friend. He loved that friend. That friend and him were so close. And then the friend moved. And that was like the world just shifted for Danny. Like the rug was pulled out from under him. What do you mean my friend left? I'm the one that leaves. But his family was a military family that were restationed. So he left from one day to the next and it shattered Danny. And it was the hardest thing for him to work through. It was the most difficult thing to accept that this time it wasn't him, it was someone else. And that no matter what, even if he would stay, someone else could still take him. So when he decides to trust Angelo, when he decides that he wants to believe in what Angelo says, and he wants to believe in what Angelo represents to him, Danny falls headfirst into this. So when Angelo vanishes for the first time, Danny's wrecked. He's at a loss. He doesn't know what to do. He has all of these terrible speculations of what could have possibly gone wrong. And when Angelo finally resurfaces, Danny's like, "You're okay?" He says, "Yes." And he just sobs. And Angelo's like, "I thought you'd be mad." And Danny's like, "I never want you to vanish again." And they both know they will vanish. While all of this heartbreak and coming of age and finding themselves each other, finding themselves in each other, all of this, Angelo is a very intelligent, very whimsical, mischievous kid. Why I loved his character. Anytime Angelo came on the scene and Danny was like taken by him for some reason, I heard bells, because whimsy and magic to me sounds like bells. So when Angelo would pop up, I just heard like the tinkling of bells as he walked. Every time he laughed, I heard bells. And it was just the whimsy and the magic was never lost on me. Even towards the end, when the final miracle happens, I never lose the magic. I always see them as magical. So Angelo's quite an eccentric little kid. He knows Rome in and out, upside down, right side up. Every nook and cranny of Rome belongs to Angelo. And he shows Danny a Rome that he never would have seen otherwise. He shows Danny secrets of Rome that are lost because Angelo has read so much about Rome. Every story, all the history that Angelo has, he gave to Danny as stories. And he asked, "Do you believe my stories?" They're stories of Dante and his elephant, stories of Dante and his lover, stories that are uncovered through their adventures together of Eric and Jacob. There are stories of people throughout the history of Rome up until modern times when Danny and Angelo are there, of these hidden secret loves that dared to try. And Angelo knew all of their stories. And Angelo knew the myths. Angelo knew the history. Angelo knew the speculations. And when he didn't know the speculations, he filled in the gaps with what he hopes happened, with what he thinks probably happened. Because there are certain stories that Danny's like, "How do you know it happened?" He's like, "I don't, but I hope that's what happened." What actually really happened is he probably fell in the ocean, which is not fun. There's moments of just Angelo just weaving this beautiful tale of the most extravagant people, of the most eccentric people that have dared to travel the world to bring back a tragic elephant, to succumb to the obsession with this elephant, with this romance, with this love, to abandon your entire personhood in search of this individual for decades. And then at the end, Danny's like, "What happened?" And Angela's like, "Oh, we don't know." And all of a sudden, he's just this like jerk kid that's just like, "Oh, I don't know, that was all speculation." So it never lost its fun. And Danny was always like, "Really? That's all you got?" And Angelo would create another story, another ending. And towards the end, we see the true story. We see all of it coming together. I think Danny sees it as well, but we definitely see how all of the stories build upon each other. These stories, while they seem ad hoc, while they seem here and there, and they seem to not be related to each other at all, are actually very interconnected. And the cleverness of how they are interconnected across multiple centuries, one of the most beautiful aspects of this entire story is that Danny and Angelo's love is not isolated. It is not isolated like Danny thought he was. It's not isolated like Angelo felt. That's why he reached out to Danny, and that's why Danny wanted to take him and give him a space, just like he asked Angelo for it, and Angelo gave him space to exist and to love and be loved. Angelo and Danny's love is not isolated. It is built upon a history of a great city with a fantastic history, and it's built on stories upon stories of other lives that experienced the same thing and came to this great city of Rome. And in these secret stones, in these secret corners of this amazing historical city, they found themselves. They found a future. They found their love. They found where they could belong in Rome. And that is one of the most wonderful elements of this story, is that none of the stories are isolated. They are all interconnected. And the way that Angelo and Danny heard themselves, I don't know if Angelo did. The way Danny heard him and Angelo in every movie, in every song, in every moment of romance, I saw them in every story. And I love that Angelo chose these stories to tell Danny during their adventures, during their time together, during their limited time together. As reality started to encroach on their summer, as reality started to just creep in with someone catching them doing something, with a gate being closed, I felt dread for the upcoming departure, for when they were inevitably going to have to be separated. And I felt Danny just desperately wishing that time would not come. Of course it did, but their goodbye, their final scene, the final scene is not Danny getting on the plane. That is not an appropriate way to end this book. That is a disservice to this perfect, beautiful story that Danny and Angelo both tell each other, show each other how meaningful this summer is, because neither of them really hold on to a traditional souvenir of the summer or any form of remembrance of what they were. It's all internalized because neither believes that they could have a souvenir or a memory that's tangible without the other. They're like, I can't keep this without you. And Danny says, I can't take this from Rome because this is where we are. They both know that their summer is coming to an end. They both know that the inevitable separation is coming, but they accept it. And they choose to leave Danny and Angelo, because that is not their real name. That is what they've named each other. They choose to leave Danny and Angelo perfect in Rome, haunting all of the nooks and crannies that they visited all summer long. The vlog is definitely way more gushy. Like, the vlog is just me on crazy emotions, because this book was amazing. I loved it. I can't speak enough to how, sidebar, I wasn't gonna buy this book. I actually only got it because I picked it up and I saw that back. And my friend's like, that book has been at every bookstore. I think you need to buy it. And I'm like, I don't want to buy it because I was moving. I wasn't supposed to buy it. But then I read the back. We turned hand in hand and fell off the edge of the world into the dark, wild abyss of Rome. I read that and I knew I couldn't put it back. I knew this book was meant for me. And the idea that I would not have this book in my life is jarring. I can't imagine my literary life without this book now. It is so wonderfully, masterfully told. It is exquisite. It's young adult. Expect a wonderful, spectacular young adult book. And I only say that because the only thing that I was missing, in true Quinn toxicity, I wanted to sit in the sadness more. I wanted to reflect on the isolation, on abandonment, on unfairness of circumstances that brought these two people together in such a timed format. Like, they only get a certain amount of weeks. If this were an adult fiction book, I think we would have been able to sit in the intimacy, not the spiciness, because that is not what we're doing here. There is intimacy, but the intimacy is of their souls. It's of their connection as beings, as spiritual people, is their connection as two living creatures in this beautiful historic city. It is not spicy at all. Everything is just implied. And I feel like if this was an adult fiction, we'd be able to extend the sadness a little more, extend the melancholy, extend the painful hope, extend the dread, just a little bit more we would have been able to sit. Granted, the ending would have probably been way more tragic, so I'm probably a good thing that it's not, but that's the only thing, truly the only thing that I can say, I wish I had more. I wish I had more heartbreak. And that's toxic as all hell. But you know what? That's okay. I can be toxic about this fantastic book. I already have a whole vlog, so I'm actually gonna stop it here. Tell me what you thought. Tell me what you thought of this book. Tell me if you've read it, if you haven't read it, if you want to read it, what's your expectation? Why haven't you read it? If you think you want to, please, please read this book. Just read this book. It's gonna be so beautiful, and just sit in it. Just allow yourself to sit in it. Experience it the way Danny let himself experience Angelo's Rome. And this book is gorgeous, phenomenal. Just don't rush it. Sit and love it. Sit and love their story, their moments of whimsy, their arguments, their dread of not being loved, their dread of abandonment, their fear of abandonment, their hesitant first steps towards love together. Just sit and enjoy it. And let the heartbreak just fall over you, because that's what I did. I was just sitting there sobbing as I was finishing the book, and I loved it. So tell me what you thought. I want to talk about this book so much. That's it for this video. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!